Alright, so here's my presentation, difficult personalities, and the personality trait I'll be analyzing today is the meddler. A meddler is someone who likes to pry at your life at all times. They think they know what decisions are best for you, even if that's not always the case. So here's the situation. I love my brother, but sometimes he thinks he knows what's best for me. Despite being twins, my brother and I have very different perspectives on what we value and what we want to pursue in our future. Thus, occasionally, he'll try to meddle in my life a little bit, because he thinks he knows what's best for me, even though I disagree. An example of this behavior occurring is when, a couple months ago, I was deciding what college I should transfer to after I was done with my time at BCC. I was looking at a few different factors, but there was one school I was particularly interested in, but my brother wasn't too enthusiastic about it, and he thought I should look at other choices instead. Since I prioritized different factors than he did, and he didn't really understand my perspective, it led to a bit of a conflict. So here's some strategies from dealing with meddlers, according to the reading. The first is to appreciate their intentions. So you want to show meddlers that although you want your own boundaries in life, you appreciate what they have to say, and you like having them around, even if sometimes they go a little bit too far. And it's always important to ask for advice because, well, one, it makes them feel special and it makes them feel like they know what they're doing. But it also makes, if you're missing something that they see and they're actually correct, then that can address some of the issues that take place there. Another part, take control. This one's crucial because if it's your life, not the meddlers, and that's the most important thing to take away from this, is that it's the life of yours and it's your decision making. So, taking control means that while you take their advice in, you don't need to follow it if you don't agree with it or you don't understand it. Following this line of thought is to have responses ready for common questions. If you think you're going to be criticized, sometimes the best way to avoid conflict and avoid a heat of a moment response is to just have a response ready, even if it's just a very simple one. For example, if he was asking me why I wanted the college, I could list 2 or 3 reasons. This helps prevent me from saying the wrong thing or for him getting madder than he already was. Similar to this is to create a diversion if necessary. If you think a contentious subject is going to come up and it's really causing divide, then you can always talk about something else, or say, can we talk about this later? Because then, if you have a diversion, then that can prevent some really explosive conflict from occurring. And then after all that, what's really important is to negotiate a boundary, because the only way to stop meddling is to tell the meddler that they can't meddle. Because if you don't create a boundary, then that gives meddlers free reign over your life. And it's not something anybody would want, to have somebody else controlling their lives. So it's important to negotiate a healthy boundary so that they can give their input and their advice, but ultimately the decision rests on your shoulders. So here's the eventual outcome for my situation. I started by asking for my brother's advice. I told him how much his input meant to me. I asked him what he would do, what his thought process was in thinking what was best for me, why he thought my train of thought wasn't really the best. Just simple questions, a simple discussion, not conflicting, not angry at all, just a simple back and forth. Because if you are able to give this back and forth type of conversation, then that can avoid making something a bigger deal than it is. So, I eventually stood firm in my decision. Although I appreciated his input, I knew what was best for me in my heart, and I think I'm correct in what I had to say. And so I stood firm in my decision, and I made the choice that I wanted to make, and not what he did. This was hard to break the news, and I knew he was disappointed in what I had to say and my decision, but ultimately, it's my choice, my life, and so I needed to communicate effectively that the decision rests on my shoulders, not on anyone else's, because it's my life I'm living, and I'm the one that would regret it. So, as much as I appreciated his input, eventually, I couldn't take it. But I used the opportunity to create a healthy boundary between us. Because I'll be going away to college soon, and he'll be going somewhere else, so it'll be a very different type of dynamic. So I decided to create this healthy boundary of, I really want you to have input in what I have to do, and some of the important decisions I have to make. That's why I ask, because I really want to know what you have to say, or if I'm missing something, because sometimes it takes a second person to kind of clear your train of thought. But ultimately, the decisions I make are on my shoulders, and they're my responsibility. So I told him he shouldn't feel bad if I try to make something else, because I really do evaluate his input. It's just sometimes it just doesn't work out, and we don't fundamentally agree on the same things, and that's okay, because relationships are meant to have disagreements from time to time. So here's some advice for dealing with meddlers. Meddlers are only looking out for you. They just want what's best for you. So hear what they have to say. Meddlers are they can get annoying at times, honestly, or irritating, because meddlers, they don't understand that you may have a different perspective, or that you don't understand what they have to say. But the only way you're going to get them to understand is if you make clear what you have to say and really stand firm in making your decisions for yourself and not for other people, and not letting them make your decisions. Your life is yours first and foremost. Don't let them control it instead. There is going too far, and I know from experience, and I'm sure many others do as well, that if you let others make your decisions, you will not be truly happy. You're not truly happy unless you're the one that's dictating your own life. You're the one that's setting your own path. Because otherwise, what is free will? So yeah, creating boundaries with others helps to respect our differences, because we all are different, and we all have our own values and beliefs and thought processes. And so that way we can all be comfortable in the decisions we make, and we can find a healthy balance between giving advice and dictating what others have to do. Alright, thank you for viewing this presentation, and here's my source for the book I cited in the discussion. Thanks so much.